You gotta get into the groove.
Ooh. Hey everybody, just let me just get this right. Okay, go full screen now. Welcome to another Groove Asia Leaders Unite, and of course this is my regular session, although I wasn't here last week, but this is my regular Thursday session for anything that's about e-commerce really. And there's so much happening in the world of e-commerce, particularly after everything in terms of COVID and everything else. People realizing that they can actually also run a business from home, or a side hustle as they call it, all those sorts of things. So there's lots more people doing e-commerce, and some are doing it really well and some are not doing so well at it. So and that's kind of like what happens, right? Unless you educate yourself more about e-commerce and keeping up with some of the changes. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. What are the 8 trends at the moment that are actually driving e-commerce? And we'll go through a list of them. In fact, I came across this web page, which I will show in a moment, as to what they are, and we'll just go through it. There are some things in there that, when I look at it, there were some things in there that were happening back when, sort of like about maybe 12 to 14 years ago. And I'll tell you what I mean when we get to it. But there are some obviously big trends or different, a lot of changes, especially with AI, and that has changed the whole e-commerce game quite considerably over the last few years, ever since ChatGPT was first announced. So let's go through it. Let's say hello to Tyra. Great to have you here, and always supporting. So thank you very much. And no doubt we'll get some people sort of drop in maybe a little bit later on. So anyway, let me just get through it. The world is upgrading. So Tyra, the world is upgrading with us or without us. Yep, yeah, absolutely right. You need to be proactive in your business. Yeah, you actually need to really be on your toes and be up to date with a lot of stuff when it comes to your business, whether it's e-commerce or anything else. At the moment now, there is a strong influence of AI here in New Zealand. I had a friend go up to one of our largest cities here in New Zealand, Auckland, and there was a big cinema, if you like, and they had various speakers, and one of them was actually speaking about AI. So now all of a sudden now we've got a lot of experts in AI here in New Zealand, which probably given this time last year, there weren't any experts as such in AI here in New Zealand. So it just goes to show just how many people have sort of taken this, embraced it, and really sort of figured out that there's going to be, it's here to stay, and and something that they need to I guess learn about and even become an expert in. For me, I think you would never be an expert in AI because it's always evolving, and there's still a lot more things to go in terms of like where AI where it actually gets to a point that you can't do anymore, which I don't think that's ever going to happen. But I do recall at one point there was something on the internet with regards to we're only at level 1 when it comes to AI, and there are 5 levels. And if you can imagine what level 2 or level 3 or level 4 might be like, it'll be a very, very different landscape to what we have now. And think about it, 2 years ago or even a year ago, who would have thought would be with here at this point with AI compared to this time last year? So things change, they evolve all the time. And and even with industries like like e-commerce, it has a real effect on e-commerce, and it gets to a point where all of a sudden our competition is a lot more higher, and it's even higher than what it was post-COVID. So all those sorts of things are happening. Hello, Dr. Lisa. Good to have you here, and greetings from Baltimore, Maryland. All right, so I'm going to share my page with you, and we'll just sort of get on with this. So there's 8 trends. That's pretty much, well, not in particularly, there's only 8, but in this case, there's 8 trends. And let's just go through them. All right. So one of the first trends is generative AI. Now, what do you know about generative AI? I mean, do you know a lot about it? Have you researched it? I mean, generative AI kind of means to me that it's always improving its ability to be able to to actually find solutions, find ways around different things that no one would have ever thought of. That's probably just some of the things. But if you have a look through there, despite the fast rise of generative AI technology through tools like ChatGPT, many retailers are left wondering how to actually employ the technology into their e-commerce websites. Wow. So, there's a few businesses out there that actually probably wouldn't even know how to use AI. And that's kind of interesting, because there are different ways that you can use AI in your e-commerce websites. Now, of course, when you've got platforms like Google and a lot of other platforms that kind of monitor, like Facebook as well, they have algorithms that monitor the various activities that you might be doing in terms of like your e-commerce and all that. That has a strong part to play in it too, because sometimes they regulate things. Like sometimes it would be a challenge to actually introduce AI into your e-commerce, particularly if you're sort of like advertising on like Google or even Facebook. You're kind of limited to what you can and what you can't do because of AI. However, in the back end of your website, there's plenty of stuff that you can actually do with AI. I mean, you can do a lot with your content. Creating some really SEO friendly content. Now, there's like people will often comment, well, there's tools that can pick up anything that's AI generated and all that sort of thing. Yes, there are, and some of them are accurate and some of them are not. But it kind of leaves the ones that are not and the ones that are. It kind of just sort of like leaves a grey area whether those tools actually work or not. Whether they just sort. Oh, sorry, didn't share my screen. Here we go. All right. So yeah. Anyway, let me just get back to this topic. So generative AI, it's a controversial commerce type sort of thing. So integrate AI-driven conversational tools to enhance customer interactions. So enabling zero-click searches and personalized shopping experience. Just on that point, let me just say something. About 12 to 14 years ago, and I did mention I was going to talk about this before. I think it might have been before. Well, it actually might have been when 5G first came out. Telecommunications. So 5G. I do recall a scenario when, because I was actually in the computer business then, and I do recall a scenario where if I was kind of like near a shopping center or a shop that I regularly go to, I may have even subscribed to in terms of emails, like newsletters and updates about different products and things like that. Every time I got sort of near those type of stores, I would get a text alert on my phone. And interestingly enough, I mean, that kind of what, in a sense, that was kind of like AI. But so how would that work? Well, it would work like this. I mean, Google has had access to your information, right? It had access to your location. And there are lots of big businesses that actually advertise with Google. So how would Google, I guess, uh, serve their customers the best way that they can? And that was, I guess, at the end of the day, you're where where you're sort of like located at the time, because that's picking up on your phone, and you're near somewhere that you subscribe to in terms of like a retailer. Then a text alert will come out and basically say, hey, we have a 50% sale on. That's kind of like AI in itself, but it kind of had Google and behind the scenes helping that along, right? I don't know. Anybody ever heard about that? Has anybody encountered that? Because I do recall encountering that back then, and I thought it was actually quite weird that every time I went to a place was near a place that I subscribed to, as in terms of like getting updates, I would get an alert on my phone and let me know about something that was on special or on sale. So and like when you think about that technology existed around about 12 to 14 years ago, and you look at AI now and the capabilities that it has. Just imagine what the future will be like when it comes to that sort of whole shopping experience, right? What's another way of looking at it? When you're online and you've gone to a site and you've viewed, say, an e-commerce store, and then all of a sudden you go to places like Facebook and wherever, and then you've got these ads popping up where you've actually kind of you've looked at various products. It kind of shows where you've been in terms of looking at the products that you've actually viewed on another website. It's very, very similar, very, very similar to what I just talked about. And so that is going to be one thing I think is you're going to see a lot of. I do recall back then too as well, 6G. There was an announcement that at some point 6G might come out, and when that happens, that would change the whole game completely. Literally, you would probably walk through a shopping mall, and then they'll have digital screens along the walls, and then as you're going through, and I think people have seen this, as you're going through, walking past the screens, they're showing advertisements of things that you've actually liked online, right? Because they've picked up your location, they've discovered that's you on that location, and now they're starting to actually market to you. So very similar to what we actually experience when we are looking at products online, and then we see those products on other web pages. Tyler has said, I've seen it on TV. I never experienced it now online. Yes. Now online, yes, yeah. So that was one of the things that I did know that was around back then. And of course, I had a computer business back then, and so I was quite sort of like involved in the whole sort of technology side of things, and that was one thing I did actually pick up on. Hey, Nancy, how are you? Good to have you here. What's next? So, some of the things when it comes to, so we'll just stick on this one point for a little bit. Personalization and customer experience, kind of like what I've just said. Like there are a lot of people out there that are not really worried about the information, sort of like Google having the information. In fact, a lot of people prefer it because it makes life a lot more easier for them when they actually go to search for something online, because it's kind of got like a recall of the activity that you've done online, where you've gone, what sort of products you've looked at, what has interested you, what you've bought, and all those sorts of things. So it kind of knows you probably better than what you know yourself, and which is pretty scary. So those are the sorts of things that we are probably actually experiencing now. Some of us don't even realize that, and some of us do. But yeah, those are one of the things. So personalization and customer experience is probably part of that. The other thing is individualized customer journeys across all touch points. Now, sustainability and ethical practices is another one. Like a lot of people these days now want to make sure that the products that they purchase are sustainable, and that the way that these products are made, who they're made by, are they no one wants to wants to see it being made in a country where there's like low paid wages or no wages at all, and all those sorts of things. It's the practices are probably more and more important now than what they ever have been. So ethical practices and environmentally friendly for a lot of people these days now. Omni-channel integration, ensure a cohesive shopping experience by integrating online and offline channels. So pretty much goes back to what I was saying before. Advanced data analytics, utilize sophisticated analytics to gain deeper insights into customer behavior. Once again, it goes back to what I just mentioned before. And mobile commerce expansion, enhanced mobile platforms to cater to the increasing number of consumers shopping via smartphones. Again, that goes back to what I said before, because now we are starting to look at where you're located by where you are with your mobile phone. Right? And so if you're near, like I said before, a major retailer or even just a retailer that has been advertising with Google, and the likelihood of you getting ads from that particular retailer would be very, very high, especially coming to your phone, because we are on our phones most of the time, not so much on our computers. Well, if you're me, you're on your computer all the time. Augmented reality. I'm not sure if everybody knows what augmented reality is, but AR in short. So how would I explain it? It's kind of like sort of like a virtual type sort of reality, in terms of like well, I guess such things as virtual try-ons and interactive product demonstrations, just to see how you might look in their in that dress or in that suit or whatever. So there's all those sorts of things, and different colors of the suits, different colors of the dress, different patterns. The list goes on. So that is something that's already happening at the moment, and it's probably in its infancy, but it will get more and more and more, because they've realized that e-commerce is huge at the moment, and it's something that a lot of businesses now are actually relying on, because of the fact that what's happened since COVID. And so a lot more people are actually online, and they're on their phones. What else have we got? Okay, well, let's move on to what's omni-channel integration and advanced data analytics. So predictive analytics. Let me go down here. Sorry, we've gone down to. All right. Let me just have a look here. Consumers welcome personalized. So this is what I was just mentioning before. Consumers are actually welcoming this type of personalization in terms of e-commerce, because it does make life easy for them. So according to this, retail media has reached 30 billion in revenue, faster than both search and social. According to Luma Partners, I don't even have a clue who they are, continues to fill a market need for consumer packed goods and branded manufacturers. Where are we? What are these statistics? It annoys me receiving online ads based on my search history. I guess this is what this is actually sort of like the graph of the various, I guess, the various countries that don't mind it as much as what some others do, I guess. All right, we might just skip that bit. Oh, here's an interesting one. Okay, second-hand marketplaces compete for consumer attention. So with the cost of living obviously increasing and people sort of like being very conservative with their money, there is a market out there for even like branded goods that is secondhand. Like take for instance Nike. Obviously, there's a market out there. Whether they're actually like Nike shoes that have been sort of bought back in the 70s, but actually preserved in the sense that they've never been used, that can cost like maybe tens and tens of thousands. Who knows? Maybe hundreds of thousands. And there's also the actual Nikes that have been used and they have been cleaned up and they've sold for a fairly good price in terms of the Nike brand. So those sorts of things are actually happening now. Good secondhand stuff is also popular. So so there is a market out there where there are people that can afford, and there are people that can't really afford to buy those top brands brand new. And I guess that's where that comes into. Slow living and high quality products are in. All right, so let me just see what that means. The trend of de-influencing or influencers on social media discouraging consumers from overconsumption and recommending which products to avoid has prompted a renewed interest in high quality products. In fact, the number one corporate sustainability practice that's important to consumers is the creation of long-lasting and durable products. Chomping waste reduction, decreasing greenhouse gas. Okay, so we're just getting back to the eco-friendly type sort of products, which is makes sense in this day and age. There is a huge push for that. Short-term financing and invisible payments accelerate checkout. Invisible payments. I guess that just means credit card payments and stuff. Anyway, yeah. A lot of people like to prefer to buy online in this busy world. I know there's a lot of people in New Zealand that buy online. In fact, I have a tenant that rents a place out behind me, and she buys online all the time. She gets her groceries online. She gets if she buys a dress, she'll get it online. So everything's online for her. And so she doesn't sort of go into shops and try things on, which kind of like amazes me, really, to be quite honest. What else have we got here? Tyra, I got a notification that I needed to update my phone's operation system to receive a particular ad. Really? Wow, that's scary. Anyway, AI scraping object on site is now very simple. Yeah, it is. There are lots of tools out there. I'll tell you this: like when I was doing e-commerce a few years back, there was a tool that someone in China, maybe it was an app that you could use on your computer, and you could scrape like information from Facebook, from LinkedIn, places where it was hard to sort of get information from. But like if they didn't actually have all their phone numbers or whatever public, this tool would actually scrape it. And they'll be able to scrape that information, and it'll actually scrape it to the point that it will actually categorize it, male, female, which country you lived in, what city you lived in, what else, whether you're single, married, had kids, all those sorts of things. It would scrape all that information, and this is before even AI came along. And this was actually just in a downloadable app that you had on your desktop, and then you would it would integrate with Facebook, and then you'll get all that information. You can't even do that now. You can't even get that, because Facebook and even LinkedIn they do their damnedest to make sure that in terms of scrapers, because it is actually it's in a way it's against their policy. So and if you actually discover doing it, especially if you're on Facebook and or LinkedIn, they'll just terminate your account, right? So that's what happens. But that it didn't take long after that tool was actually couldn't even use it anymore. And the guy that actually created it or invented it, he just wouldn't be able to, he just couldn't do the support anymore. So at the end of the day, it was one of those tools that you could use, and prior to AI, and I bet if you were to probably delve deeper into AI, you probably would be able to create something that would do that. But you'd have to be smart enough to actually, to outsmart ones like Facebook and LinkedIn and all those sorts of places. AI scripting an object on site is now very simple. Well, I guess you dropped everything to do that. Anyway, who was that? Who was that? That comment for? Was that for me, Dr. Lisa? Anyway, let me go down the line. AI generated images seamlessly blend into marketing. You know what? People are going on about like Midjourney. And even I was sort of like really right into Leonardo.ai. I've discovered in ChatGPT that the imaging in there, particularly if you've come across an app, a GPT that someone else, a third-party GPT, is very, very good, and actually better than a lot more. How would I say? You could use the same prompt in Midjourney that you would use in ChatGPT, and ChatGPT would do it better. Before it used to be the other way around, but I've noticed now ChatGPT or DALL-E is actually a lot more better in terms of images than what the Midjourney is. In fact, Midjourney is starting to become a little bit too complicated to use, to be quite honest. So I think with ChatGPT, it's starting to really lift its game. To me, there's only one forerunner in the whole sort of competition, and it's ChatGPT. It is always my go-to. I very rarely use Leonardo AI anymore for anything, and Midjourney, well, it's there, but I hardly go on there. And when I do, I sort of I actually compared with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT seems to do it better. I'm talking about images, right? Not anything else, but just images. All right, word of mouth, product reviews, influencers, drive online shopping. Yeah. Right. For those who are actually involved with Shoply, we all know that, right? And those who are not involved with Shoply, you probably know it too as well. But yes, we all know that. We know that influencers will drive online shopping because people, it's kind of like, I guess it's kind of like, like people, I remember when people used to, they never used to like commercials, right? That, everybody used to moan about commercials, moan about ads popping up on their phone. Yet they'd watch TikTok, and if they see something they like, they'll buy it. So it's crazy. They'd prefer to watch an influencer promoting a product, which is kind of like an ad, if you like. And they'll, so there's all that sort of thing. In a way, it's quite contradictory, and I think that's where things have become very complex in such a way that, like you can't actually say that people don't like ads, because if they didn't like ads, then they wouldn't be actually scrolling through TikTok and come across an ad and go, think, well, that's pretty cool, and have a look at it. And sometimes buy it. I've done that a few times. Who in here has bought off TikTok? Just put a 1 if you have. Put a one in the comment box if you've actually bought off TikTok. I'll be interested to know, because I think I've bought maybe 4 or 5 different things, thinking that there was a couple of things that are actually close by to me, which were in New Zealand. But there was one other thing that I thought was actually close by to me, but it's actually coming from China, and it's from AliExpress. So yeah, I got kind of duped into that one. If I'd known that, I probably wouldn't have bought it. Not even on TikTok. Ah, so well, that's good. 83 hasn't. Dr. Lisa, have you? Nancy, have you? I'd like to know actually, because I hate to think I'm the only one. But yeah, so TikTok seems to be a good place to actually have a store, a TikTok store, even an Instagram store. And if you haven't heard about TikTok and Instagram stores, that you can actually create one yourself. And if you're not into TikTok, then you probably won't. But like if you're into e-commerce and you want to try something different, then try that. And for me, that's something that I would probably do myself as well for some of my e-commerce sites. I'd actually spread my chances, from Facebook to TikTok to Pinterest. The more you're out there, I guess, the better. But it's a lot of work, right? It's a lot of work. So to do that amount of sort of social media marketing, it kind of takes a team, if you like, because you're just gonna sort of like you're gonna wear yourself out doing it. And so I guess that's where a VA comes into the picture. And if you're at that point where you can afford a VA, then that's a good thing, and you can get them to do that. So it is an important part of e-commerce that you get yourself out there marketing. There's no other simple, easy way to do it other than you've got to get yourself there. Sometimes you might even have to look at paid ads. And I was having this conversation early on with someone with regards to paid ads. And like I know I've always said, like in the past, that when you're doing a online store, try and niche it down to a specific niche. Now, in Groove Cart, absolutely. When you're using Groove Cart and you want to niche down a product, well, you need to niche down a product when it comes to Groove Cart, because those are suitable for niche products. But when you're looking at something like a consumer product type e-commerce platform, kind of like what's a good example? You've got like AliExpress and all that. That's probably too much of an example, but if you were to try and sort of like do that on GrooveCart, do various different products on GrooveCart, then it would be a lot of work. You probably wouldn't do it successfully. I know I wouldn't. And so yeah, you do need platforms that has the capacity to actually be able to perform well, to be able to actually handle a e-commerce store that's got a whole range of products. Now, having said that, there's no harm in having both, right? I mean, you don't have to just have one store. You can have multiple stores, and you could always sort of like, I know with Groove, if you've got multiple niches, then you can have multiple stores, and then you can probably see which one actually works better than the other. Which one is more popular than the other. Kind of like that whole A/B testing. And you could do that if you've got enough time up your sleeve to do that sort of thing, and that's the other thing, is that there's always a lot of effort behind creating an e-commerce store, no matter whether it's with Groove or whether it's with WooCommerce or Shopify. There's always an amount of effort on your part in creating a e-commerce store. However, there are platforms out there that actually do everything. And I have mentioned this to you guys before. Salvia is one of those, and I don't want to really, I hate sort of keep bringing up that name because I don't want to give them free advertising. But in my experience so far, it's been a hands-off experience, which is really good. And so, yeah, but, I don't know if there's any other platform like that out there, but if you know of one, let me know. What? Okay. I just laughed and deleted it. I will be gifting myself a phone for a New Year's gift. Oh, so you laughed at the. I'm gathering you laughed at the update thing, Tyler. Yeah. So what else have we got here? Word of mouth, product reviews, influence drive online shopping. They certainly do, and that is one of the trends these days, as most of you in here know. All right, definitely one of the trends. Smart supply chains will decrease product waste. Global conflict and increase in extreme weather events due to climate change present a drastic need for retailers to modernize their supply chains, implementing digital twins. Digital twins, demanding forecasting, preventative maintenance measures, and supplier tracing. Don't even know what that means. Not only will these resilient supply chains reduce profit loss from unexpected events, they will also provide a reliable baseline for carbon emissions. Okay, all right. We're kind of getting into the whole eco-friendly thing. All right, so that's kind of the 8 of them, really, to be quite honest. But there are some of the things that I know myself that I've actually plugged in there, and yeah, I guess with e-commerce, everybody, there's a lot of people doing it. It's not like how it was for me, how long going back now? Probably about almost 18 years, I think. It wasn't like that for me back then. It was kind of like it was a free for all. You could literally put something up and you would no doubt, without a doubt, you'll get somebody buying something within that week or two or whatever. But that's how it was, because there wasn't really a lot of people doing e-commerce back then, other than there was Amazon that was around. There was eBay, obviously. There were some drop shippers. I was probably one of just a very, very few, maybe a handful at that time, drop shipping in New Zealand. So yeah, it's a whole lot different to what it was back then to now. And so the game has gotten tougher, it's gotten harder, and sometimes you've got to look at it and think, well, what are the things that you need to do in order to actually, promote your store? And well, some of the things is that obviously Facebook. You need a Facebook page, right? Put your store on Facebook, and at the same time, you actually need to keep up with it. You need to keep feeding it products, right? And the engagement needs to be there. I guess the content needs to be like things like graphics that have a huge impact, or videos or things like that for product. People love to see things in action, so videos is really, really a great way of doing it, showcasing a product on your Facebook page. But that's not the only thing, right? And you literally have to probably at least 2 posts a day to actually do that. So you need a very good piece of software that will handle, all the different platforms that you actually on your social media, and as well as scheduling, to be able to schedule, video posts and all those sorts of things. So you do need a platform that does that. Then there's things like, well, if you want to get fast traction, you either get skilled up learning about SEO and, like Google, like in terms of ranking on Google and things like that. For a lot of people, that is very, very challenging. For many people, it's very, very challenging, right? To be able to rank your store online within a matter of weeks. Literally, it will be very difficult, especially when you've got a store that has a number of consumer products. So you may have to go down the track of doing Facebook ads. You may have to go down the track of actually learning how to do Google ads, just to get some momentum going. But the thing is that you need the capital behind you to do that. And then there's a lot of even Groove is the same. Groovecart. There's a lot of platforms out there saying, create your store for less than, I don't know, for $1 a month. I know Shopify does that at one stage, $1 a month or something like that. And like, even with GrooveCart, you can create as many stores as you want, but if none of them actually work, not actually returning you any profit, then it doesn't make it worthwhile actually having a store, because if you're not willing to do the work behind it, then it's not going to happen, and there's a lot of work to do. So those are my sort of like things that I know of when it comes to, like, they talk about the trends. If you really want to keep up with the trends, what's happening now, there's also like a voice search, which now a lot of people are doing. Instead of actually punching something into Google search to find a product or whatever, now they're talking on their phones, and they're doing like the voice search thing. And I think most of you in here know what that is anyway. So rather than typing it in, you just you're actually saying what you want, and then if you've optimized for voice search on your website, then 9 times out of 10 they're going to come across you at some point. So that's a big trend at the moment. Another trend is, and I think this is one that's actually probably holds more value than anything else, and that is like your own products, the ones that you create, ones that you make. I've seen a huge well, it's kind of like a like there's a trend going on here in New Zealand where there are a lot of people starting up their own sort of like label, if you like, with their own designs, and some of them are doing very successful at it, and all they're doing is they're posting it on in a Facebook group, and then they're showing their art, or they're showing their product, and letting everybody know that if it's available if they want to buy some. And some have actually launched their businesses very, very quickly by just doing that. There's one in particular, I think it's called, just trying to figure out what it's called, but it's Māori design, and the clothing is high quality, and since it's come out, and I think it's only been out for about a year, it's just taken New Zealand by storm. It's only exclusive to females, not males, just females. It's a clothing range, and it's done very, very well, to the point now they've actually had to expand their business. This is under a year. This isn't a year. So, I mean, that's amazing, right? So I do actually think there's more value in having your own products than what it is selling someone else's product, unless you're really good at selling somebody else's products, then that's fine. But if you want to sort of do something different, and people realize that it's different, people realize that you can't get that anywhere else, and they love what it looks like, then you're probably going to get more traction that way, and then the word will just spread. It has to be localized. It can't be something that you're going to try and sort of market to people overseas. Right? It's got to be local. It's got to be, when I say local, in your own country, maybe even in your own state or your own region. But you need to start off that way, rather than sort of go for the masses and try and sort of sell to people overseas as well, because that'll eventually come anyway. Right? That'll eventually come. So you start off that way, then you start getting sales, and so yeah. And I have dealt with a couple of clients that have actually made their own stuff, and they've been very, very popular, and people love them, love their, I think one of them, the one that painted the picture at the back of me, he is a local artist, and there was another one that actually created something that had a Māori influence over it, and lots of people were interested in buying it. And so, those sorts of things actually, I think, hold a lot of value. They're a lot more easier to sell, if you like, because people love it and they haven't seen it anywhere else, and you're the only one that's making them, then they're going to buy it from you, obviously. All right, what else we got? I think that's about it. I don't actually have anything else other than that. It's been more of a chat about what's going on really in e-commerce, and in terms of trends and stuff like that. Even myself, I have to move with the times, and I have to sort of not get stuck in the old ways that I used to do things. I need to change as well. And so, for me, I'm looking at things like TikTok and doing more on TikTok, even getting creating a TikTok store and an Instagram store. Just a whole multiple things. And for me, it actually just sort of extends my knowledge in e-commerce, and I kind of like it like that. I kind of like that, knowing more about it, but also too as well, like with the with AI, I'm always looking for a way I could use that to be able to, increase my e-commerce sort of ability, and always trying to come up with something a little bit different to what everybody else is doing. That's pretty much what it comes down to. If you're doing something different to what everybody else is doing, then you probably have more of a chance to actually get a lot more traction rather than not. But if you're doing it the same way that everybody else is doing it, or you're doing something the same way everybody else is doing, then it's you're just amongst the masses. So it's kind of like it's just competing against each other, really, isn't it? And I kind of like being a little bit different in that sense, so that it keeps what I do a little bit more exclusive. And I do that with my my web design and digital marketing business. I always try and sort of do something different to what others are doing when it comes to web design, and having a different approach even is kind of a great way of doing it. And I was explaining to Karen, everybody knows Karen, a while ago, that even with my web designing, rather than trying to aim for people who have got like about $6,000 to $10,000 to spend on a website, and without trying to scare them off, those people come very, very far in between. And so I'd much rather sort of like reach out to the more local business, the business startups, the mum and dad, there's Karen there, KD3, the mum and dads, the husband and wife businesses that are, they don't have the money, that kind of money to throw at a website. I'd much rather start off with them and get them into a more cost-effective solution that they can budget for, and then from there just grow their business. As they grow their business, so does the demand to actually add more to their website, and so does their need to actually do more social media marketing and all that sort of thing. So guess what? I'm there for them. And the other thing is because I'm looking after them month by month, I have an ongoing subscription with them. Right. So at the end of the day, and they're happy to do their subscription because it's a lot more, and conceivably it's a lot more cheaper, obviously, to do it that way than to sort of like come up with a lump sum of like $6,000, which I just think it's crazy that in this time, this age, in terms of like the economical stuff that's been going on lately. So that's my difference, my point of difference. And with that, like making a website, it's just a one-page website. That's it. But it's done well, and it's got a few bells and whistles, but that's about it, and it gets them in, gets them online, and so people can see them and they love it. And you give them that sort of like option, and you're always going to have people wanting to actually do that with you, get a website with you. And the other thing is, I was saying to Karen earlier, I don't advertise my business. I don't think any of you have seen. You probably didn't even know this, but some of you probably only know me as eKiwi Online. But my actual business here and where I am is called Pinpoint Local, and so that's my actual business, and that's my web design and digital marketing. And I don't actually advertise. I have a Facebook page, but I don't advertise it. I don't actually do a lot of advertising for my business, because a lot of my business comes from the business community, which I'm involved with the networking group. That's a global networking group, and we meet up once a week. And a lot of my work comes from there. It's just basically referrals. That's it, referrals, nothing else. So my business is a referral business. And for me, like if someone wants me, then they'll come calling. They'll call. They'll contact me. And with the people that I look after at the moment, they're my they're my best referrers, because if I'm keeping them happy, then they're talking about me to somebody else, and that's kind of how I like it. I don't sort of get into the whole advertising thing, and really pumping my business online, to be quite honest. But yeah, and I mean, it's a little bit far away from e-commerce, but all I'm saying is that sometimes you just got to be different when it comes to e-commerce. You just got to do something different that no one else is doing it that way, and it doesn't take much to have that slight point of difference. It doesn't take much at all. I know with e-commerce, one of the biggest things that you must keep in mind is that customer service, that support, right? If you get a complaint about a product, or if something didn't turn up on time, or you have to address it straight away. You have to. You cannot leave it. The more you leave it, the longer you leave it, the worse it is for you. And I've always been a firm believer. If you get a complaint, or someone actually rings up and say, hey, I'm not happy with this product and all that, it's better just to say, look, I'll tell you what, we'll give you a refund, especially if the product only really costs you something like $20 from the wholesaler, and you're charging something like $40. I mean, for the sake of $20, just look, I'm going to give you a refund. Don't bother sending it back. It's probably just going to cost you money anyway, and just leave it at that. I mean, you wouldn't do that all the time, but what I'm trying to say is that it's always trying to make the customer happy, because you do that, you never know, that customer might actually tell more people about their experience and how I dealt with it, and they'll come back to you. I agree that customer service is a very important part of word of mouth advertising. Absolutely, Tyre. So yeah, so that's my take on in terms of like although trends are very important to take note of, some of the real basics are also very, very important. That can make a huge difference as well. You do that well, that's a point of difference, because there's a lot of places out there that are actually not doing that very well. Believe me. So if you do that part well, and you've got a good site, you've got some good products on there and all that, and your customer service, like when someone emails you or messages you, you're kind of like, you get onto it straight away. If not, well, try not to make it 24 hours, but you can make it within 24 hours. But the sooner the better. If you do that, then you're always going to get that. You're going to build up that credibility, and it may not pay dividends right there and then, but it could pay dividends later on, and it could be actually worth your while. And that's how I see it. And it just keeps you sort of like I guess too as well. You don't want to get to a point where you think, you own an e-commerce site, and and I don't know, some people actually get sort of like a bit of an ego about it, and they, especially if they're doing really well, but then they drop the ball, and then they get a complaint, and then they get all upset about it, and they have a dispute with the customer. I've seen that happen. And then all of a sudden their business is not doing as well as what it used to be. So that can happen too as well. Right, guys, I think that's it. We're not too far off the top of the hour, but I kind of like just wanted to have just a sort of like a casual chat with you guys about sort of e-commerce, rather than get into something in particular. Because I know I've been pushing a lot of stuff out about like different platforms and different ways to actually, in terms of products, ways to make money, print on demand, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. But when it really comes down to it, it comes down to how motivated you are. It comes down to how hard you're willing the amount of energy you're willing to put behind something in terms of an e-commerce store, because not everybody is cut out for it. Just like affiliate marketing, not everybody is cut out for affiliate marketing. I can tell you this much now. Before I even got into affiliate marketing, I didn't even like it. I didn't even want to do it. I couldn't even understand it. I was like, I just don't get this. And for me, it was like e-commerce was probably a much more easier thing to do than affiliate marketing at the time. So I mean, that's probably why I got into e-commerce. Well, part of the reason. There's a bigger reason than that, but I did have a choice whether I wanted to go down that track or this track, and I decided to take e-commerce. It just seemed more easier to me, drop shipping and all that sort of thing. And it did well for a while there. Just that the world changes, dynamics change, systems changed, Google changed, and we had COVID and all that sort of stuff. It all happens, and sometimes you just got to sort of like take a break from it, and then restart, and then get back on it again. Because I do believe you can actually you could actually probably lose interest in something if you do it for too long. But yeah, okay, that's me. Hopefully, I didn't put anybody to sleep, and yeah. So we'll be back next week for the next one. Not too sure what it's going to be about, but I'd like to think that I'm going to bring something different that you've never heard of before in terms of e-commerce, and maybe something develops between now and then in terms of the world of AI when it comes to e-commerce. But but for now, I'll see you next week, and everybody have a great week, and I'm sure I'm going to catch up with some of you before the week's out anyway. So have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.
You gotta get into the groove.